So in this week's Game of Thrones episode 7, Season 5, titled The Gift. To start out, we have Jon Snow. He's headed north, basically, to find the wildlings. And as he's on his way out, everybody is hitting him with that, side eye, that stink eye. They know it's not right. They know he shouldn't do it. But what can they really say, because he's Lord Commander. And as he's on his way out, Sam gives him the dragon glass in case shit goes down, in case shit gets real. But I don't think just to sack a dragon glass is really going to help him if he just happens to run into just a whole squad or army of White Walkers. It's just really not going to do anything. And my thoughts of when Jon left, when he was marching out, just all hell was going to break loose, and it kind of did. The Maester, he dies, the Targaryen, and pretty much once he goes, Sam is fucked. He told him, he's like, all your friends are leaving. Jon's gone. The Maester's dead. Pretty much anybody that was going to stand up for in his protection is gone. All the guys that kind of trained with Jon and Sam as they were coming up in the ranks, they kind of marched with Jon. So Sam's there, and as you see, his girl almost gets raped. He gets the shit beat out of him. He almost died. I really thought they were about to take Sam out right there. And Sam's basically walking around with a big X on his back. And then at the end of Sam's scenes, he breaks his vow. So pretty much there's nothing to be. I don't know why they stick to these vows, or they're so high and mighty with them. We can't let the wildlings in, we can't fight with them, but everyone's getting pussy on the side. I don't get it. So Sam breaks his vows, and I'm really thinking to myself, I'm not so taken back by Sam breaking his vows or him and his chick having sex. I'm just can they really afford another kid right now? Not financially, but you're in the north already in the winter with a kid. You're the only female there. Can you really walk around with two? I don't know. So that was pretty much the development that we got with Jon and Sam this episode. So AEMON Targaryen, he's just gone completely crazy this episode. He's losing his mind, and then eventually he ends up dying. He ends up having flashbacks of basically him as a younger version, and the baby kind of reminds him, little Sam reminds him of Aegon Targaryen, the Mad King, and how he's saying all this stuff, and then he's joking around laughing, and then he just snaps into it. He tells Sam, he's like, you've got to get out of here while you can. Winter's coming, they're coming, and it's not safe. He basically knows shit's about to go down, but he dies, and so pretty much Sam knows. I mean, they all know what's going to happen. It's pretty much how much longer can they stay there? Jon needs to come back with these troops, or they're just going to get overrun. And in this episode, we finally see Sansa post-rape scene, which is what we ended last episode with. She's just a complete mess. She tells Theon that Ramsay comes in there. She doesn't leave her room all day. He comes in there every night, basically rapes her every single night, and she just stays in her room. She's trying to snap Theon back into it. He's like, you're Theon Greyjoy, the last Ironborn prince, all this stuff. And he's resisting it. And then I saw a look in his face. I'm like, he gets it. He's back. He's not completely back, but he's pulling up his britches, and he's going to make an effort. So I see him walking. I'm like, wow, he's really going to go to the tower and light that candle. And then he shows up in Ramsay's quarters in his bedroom. And I'm like, no, he didn't. He didn't. I'm like, surely he lit the candle and just had to be back there to, help him bathe or, clean up the dishes. I'm like, he really didn't tell him. And Sansa goes, and she's talking to Ramsay, kind of making these jabs at him, like, oh, you're going to be king of Winterfell, warden of the north, but what about your little brother, The true heirs always have higher value than the bastards. And he's like, oh, really? Do you know about your bastard brother Jon Snow? He's Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. And I don't know how she didn't hear that at all at one point. And then they go around the corner, and the old woman's dead. The one that was helping wash her, but really giving her information, you have friends in the north is here, light the candle in the tower. And Theon, man, why? I was just like, you son of a bitch. But supposedly the lady didn't say anything, but it's kind of there's going to be 24-hour watch on Sansa now. There's absolutely no way she's going to be able to get to that tower by herself. Maybe she makes another attempt at Theon getting to do it, and maybe this time he actually will, because you kind of see the episode preview for next week, and she's like, if I could do the same torture stuff to you that he did, I would, but I need your help. So maybe if she's a little more sincere, he'll actually help her out. But I cannot believe he straight went and told that man. It just blew my mind. So then we move on to Tyrion and Mormont, and they end up getting sold. It was kind of a funny exchange. Nobody wanted to buy Tyrion. He ended up beating the shit out of that slave master that was whipping him the whole journey. So they get sold to the same person. And then it kind of gives me, it's like the straight up, like the movie Gladiator feel. I thought this was just like a little fighting pit. It was going to be exactly like Gladiator. Maybe the more you win and the closer and closer you get to Meereen, you'll finally fight in like the big fighting pits. But the queen was there, and Mormont basically goes out there, whoops ass, takes off his helmet, shows himself to the queen, and a part of me thought, I don't know why I thought she was going to be happy to see him. It's like, your last, like, real good fighting ally died, Grey Worm's hurt, the whole city of Meereen's just going to shit. I thought she would like to see a familiar face, but she wasn't having any of it. He ends up getting the opportunity to tell her that he has a gift for her. Tyrion comes out, and that's kind of where that ends with them. So Tyrion, he didn't get to I don't know if they're in, I really don't know if they're in Meereen, but he got to the queen. Basically, in the next episode's preview, you see them like in the chambers where they're usually at Meereen talking to her. So I'm interested to see where that goes. And then we have Jaime and Bronn. And I thought that was it for Bronn. I really did. I know they made an emphasis on when he got nicked last episode, but I thought it was just to see that, like, oh, somebody actually struck him, because you've really never seen Bronn get like scratched or hit in any of these 5 seasons, because he's really been whooping ass. The girl nicks him. He starts singing his songs. The girl's flirting with him. They're going back and forth, and he's like, Dorne doesn't really have the prettiest women. And then all of a sudden the poison starts setting in, his nose starts bleeding, and she's like, am I the most beautiful woman you've seen? And I thought he wasn't going to be able to say it in time for her to give him like the antidote. And for some, am I the only one that thought there was going to be just more concentrated poison in that? I thought she was going to be like, here, drink this, and then it was just going to be even more poison. But it looks like it was actually an antidote, so he lives. I could see them kind of forming some kind of love. I don't know what's going to happen. It was just an interesting exchange of a back and forth. And Jaime tries to bring his niece back, but she's like, Mom, Cersei wanted me here. I didn't want to go. Now I'm here and I'm comfortable. She wants me back. So that's going to be interesting development for later episodes. And speaking of Daenerys, she doesn't know she doesn't know what's going on. She doesn't know what she's doing. She's over here laying in bed having sex. She's not making any just like queen decisions. So I'm kind of glad this episode that Tyrion ended up getting to her, because she needs to start getting shit serious. And it looks like her little sex slave dude, I really don't know his name. He kind of mentioned, just because you married the leader of the Sons of the Harpy, you think they're going to stop killing. So it looks like my assumptions kind of were true. Like, he is like low-key playing in the shadows, killing all these people. And maybe the heads of the families really are the ones behind the Sons of the Harpies. I don't know, but it was kind of made a little bit clearer there. And he's kind of like, if you want my advice, round up all the masters, anybody that's got any kind of power, and just kill them all. She's like, I'm not a butcher. And he's like, you can either be 2 things as a king or a queen. You could be a butcher, or you can be the meat. And he kind of just leaves it at that. So she's just she was making so much promise, and now she's kind of sinking back down into indecisive. She doesn't know what she wants to do. Which leads into pretty much the main development of this episode, was the shit that's going down in King's Landing. You've got Littlefinger, you've got Grandma Tyrell, you've got the High Scepter, you've got Cersei, you've got the King. So Marjorie and her brother, they're locked up in jail. She just looks like shit. She's not put together. She's been in jail. Cersei tries to pay her a visit, like, oh, we tried everything we could. I can't believe they locked you up. This is no way for you to live. But Marjorie knows that it was all Cersei. She's not trying to hear any of her bullshit. And the King's like, I'll rally the armies. I'll march on there. I'll kill every single septum high 7 gods there is and break her out of there. And Cersei's like, no, that's not really what you want. And he's like, but I love her. And the look on Cersei's face was just like, I've got to kill this bitch. So Grandma Tyrell tries to go talk to the High Septum, basically trying to find out what his motive is, because, you know, everybody in King's Landing has a motive. From the earlier seasons, everybody low-key wanted something. You just had to figure out what it is. And he straight up told her, I don't want anything but to serve the gods. And he was kind of like, when judgment comes down, what have the Tyrells done, or what are you going to have left to say? And Grandma Tyrell didn't have anything to say. She was just left speechless. And she ends up meeting up with Littlefinger, and she's like, my grandchildren are locked up. I thought we were on the same side. You're over here having meetings with Cersei. Like, what's going on? And And you know he's just always playing the field. He's like, I had to tell her the information I knew, but I didn't tell her everything. So again, Littlefinger just slowly playing the chess pieces, doing what he has to do, just make sure he's kind of like, whatever happens, he's got so many avenues that whatever happens, whatever way the world goes, he's going to come out on the good side. If Cersei and them end up taking over and winning, he'll be perfectly fine. If Sansa ends up marching and taking everything over, he'll also be perfectly fine. Stannis, like, he's just got so many connections that no matter what outcome happens, he's going to be okay. And then when at the end of the episode, Cersei meets up with the High Septum, and they basically have a nice talk, and he's like, do you know how this was built? This is the most original structure, and if you strip away all the gold and the castles around here, this is at the heart of King's... This was what would be left. He's like, we stripped everybody else down, we stripped Marjorie down and the Tyrells down, and this is what was left. He's like, I wonder what would happen if we stripped you down. And I thought she was going to be like, oh, interesting, and walk out and leave. But then the cousin that was like her little boy told her that she was having sex with, basically told on her and was like, I wonder, I don't know what all he knew. Did he know that her and Jaime were sleeping together? Does he know that, like, the king, that's her son, is really like an incest son? I don't know what he knows, but clearly he knows that Cersei killed Robert, or was attempting to kill Robert, and just basically did all this fucked up shit, told the High Septum, and now Cersei's locked up. Finally. When she left Margaery chamber smiling and happy and everything, I was like, I just want Cersei to get hers once. She always comes out on top. And at the end of the episode, she gets locked up finally. But it kind of makes me think, like, now what kind of monster has she created? Who's really going to be able to take them down? I mean, the king has his army and stuff, but the people are going to be for the High Septum. They have their own little squad army running around, and it's like, what can you really do? So King's Landing is just in a complete shit pile right now. And I'm interested to see what ends up happening. It looks like they're basically going to fall apart from the inside out. They're not going to have the Lannister armies to fight for them. Say the High Septum does end up taking over King's Landing, and they're pretty much the rulers. They're not going to have an army to battle Stannis if he makes it all the way down there. Daenerys and her dragons, Boltons, or anybody. So they're kind of just going to fall from the inside out, and it's interesting to kind of see what happens. We didn't get any Arya this episode, but we saw everybody else. We got to see a little bit of Brienne when I thought I saw the candle. I thought I saw it lit in the tower, but we didn't get any kind of dialogue from her. And it was pretty much an overall episode. Next week, it looks like Jon Snow finally reaches the wildlings and pretty much tells them what they want. It looks like, of course, they're not going to be comfortable with it. And then we also see Cersei locked up in the chamber with her hair all over the place. She's threatening this way, threatening that way. And it's just building up to be a good episode. So, Season 5, Episode 7, The Gift. Let me know your thoughts. Like, subscribe if you enjoyed. Comments down below on the episode and next week's. And as always,